Hello, Andy Smith again. And for the second video for this week, do something a little different. Instead of talking about advertising, I'm going to take you through the research plan that was used to launch a new item for Nature's Own. So get you to my screen. So specifically, we're going to talk about something that's in select markets right now, which is Nature's Own Perfectly Crafted flatbreads. So Perfectly Crafted is a kind of more artisanal, higher end line extension for Nature's Own. It's been around for about 5 years now, and there's about $300 million in sales in the market. So we're going to take you through how we came up with this. Also, we'll bring this up again, but as we go through the research plan, you'll see that this is what's in the market now, but you'll see how kind of the proposition has morphed as more learning, more insights, more research came in. As we mentioned in the prior discussion, that sometimes just a simple trim line can tell a big story. And here, the top line shows that sandwiches are actually trending down. Now, you might think that, oh, well, sandwiches are trending down, people are not eating carbs. Well, interestingly, we know the things replacing sandwiches tend to be also carb-centric items like Mexican food, pizzas, frozen sandwiches. Think of all the frozen sandwiches at breakfast, and things like flatbreads. So we know that we're losing occasions to alternatives to bread, not people leaving carbs or leaving kind of bread per se, the broader perception of what bread is. This all data came from a source called NPD, which has something called National Eating Trends. Basically, it tracks for 2 weeks everything people eat. So who you ate it with, what you ate, did you have something with it? Was it the main meal? Was it supporting in the home, out of home, with others, not? So a very extensive diary on what America consumes. So as I mentioned, I think a while back, a lot of the insights we use comes from our foundational research. It's kind of the cornerstone to everything we do. And there's two elements of the foundational research. Up top is our consumer segments. So everyone fits neatly into a consumer segment. This one's based on their attitudes towards life, bread, and food in general. And then the other is need states. And unlike a consumer segmentation, multiple people can be in multiple need states multiple times during the day. So you can only be in one consumer segment, but you can have multiple need states during the course of the day. The need states is also really a segmentation, but it's based on the functional and emotional attitudes and needs you have at various occasions. So like traditional connection, think about breaking bread, right? So a lot of that is consumption at dinner time where the family's around and you're doing something that brings people together. Quick and simple, a sandwich, quick and simple, right? It's just how do I put something together and get out the door? So as you can see, the yellow is kind of the areas that we are underrepresented. If I look further into active influencers in the areas that are less developed, you'll see that flatbreads, pita, naan, foods like that are kind of gravitate to the active influencers too, but these personal indulgence and bites of adventure. So, you think about flatbreads, naan, pizza, it's a little more out of the ordinary than a simple sandwich. Thus makes sense kind of from a need state perspective. And active influencers tend to be young, tend to go out eating a lot, tend to be buying a lot of flatbreads and pizzas. So obviously a gap in our portfolio. So what makes this flatbread area attractive? It's not only bringing in new people, but new needs for our business. Taking it a step further, we also know if I look over on the right side, think about what bread does well, right? Toast, breakfast, sandwiches, lunch, kind of underrepresented at dinner. That's where flatbreads are strong. So a big fit in terms of bringing in a new occasion. Again, I look at the segments, you can see where naan or flatbreads does very well against the bread avoiders, active influencers, gaps in our portfolio, and again, the bites of adventure. So Now, the other thing you have to realize is this is an area that you can make money. So we had a consultant go out and looked at what people eat and spend money on. Right side is you can see non-flatbreads, probably a little lower in trips per month and how much people buy. But if you look on the left side of the chart, it's financially attractive. People spend a lot there. So that makes up for being purchased fewer times than, say, loaf bread. So now we've discovered that flatbreads and non-type products are one gap to our portfolio. Consumers are eating more of it, and it's a profitable area to have business. So it looks very attractive. The next question to be asked is, what do I need to know about flatbreads, that market, that category to win? Well, first thing we do is an A&U. We went out and figured out who the strongest players in the category are, what their awareness is, how frequently they're used, what's their preferred brand. So really understand the strengths of the brands. Second is just understanding the category, and this is called drivers of liking or drivers of satisfaction study, where we ask people how satisfied you are, vary to not at all, and then a series of attributes so we can correlate the people that are satisfied, where do they rate it strongly, people who aren't, where do they rate attributes poorly, and we can figure out what attributes are most important for the category. So you see, taste, flavorful, high quality, unique, authentic. But then in red, you see some other areas that are, brings joy to me and my family. So think about what we've learned about Nature's Own and how it's this product that mom feels good giving her family. It's healthy enough mom likes, but it's soft and sweet enough that the kids like. So kind of an area that Nature's Own can do a flatbread that's different from everyone else. So good news, we seem to have a fit there. So now that I know what's important for the category, next step is, well, how do the competitors, including if I do a ID in this space, how do we stack up? And you can see Nature's Own Perfectly Crafted brings that nothing artificial, the health, the fresh aspect that no one else does to the category. So we know those are all relevant attributes. So we have a way that we can position our brand differently than what's currently out there. So now we've learned a lot about the brand. We've learned the attributes that are drivers. You look in the category, you see, people have 2-packs, 4-packs, whatever. That's a lot of stuff to answer. Luckily, we have access to something we call Conjoint. And what Conjoint does, the next page, enables you to take a bunch of questions you have. What should the packaging look like? Is it a 2, 4, 6 count? The naming, the flavor, the price, descriptions, brand, logo. Is it Nature's Own, Perfectly Crafted? What Conjoint does a great job of taking a lot of stuff, throwing it together, and it'll take one from each one of the kind of attributes up top, image, count, and develop a concept. And it'll do the same thing and develop another, and consumers will say, I like this over this. Replicate that whole procedure again. I like this over like this. And at the end of the exercise, we'll have a couple hundred consumers basically saying, here is the optimal proposition for what a flatbread pizza looks like. We take that information and we create something called a concept. If we were going to advertise flatbreads, this is kind of our key point. It should have an insight up top, should have a benefit and a reason to believe, along with kind of what your price point and what your packaging and your offering will look like. So this is a concept. Now, before testing it, we always mention, hey, best thing to do is get a bunch of different research sources. And the one we haven't talked about is qualitative. So we took the concept out to qualitative and focus groups, and a couple of things we heard. Remember how originally we did work and we saw non was an opportunity, but we heard loud and clearly that, don't try to be something you're not. You're Nature's Own. Non doesn't quite work for you. It's more ethnic. It's Indian. You wouldn't be authentic. We also heard that you tend to buy non in restaurants, and it's not perfectly round. It doesn't look like it came from, I hate to use the term factory because we call them bakeries, but it doesn't look like it's mass produced. It looks like it was more handmade. So we probably shouldn't be calling it non. The other thing we heard, and it kind of reinforced what the Conjoint said, is Perfectly Crafted was a better name than Nature's Own. So best-selling item for Nature's Own is honey wheat. honey wheat was kind of a disconnect with naan. I don't know if I want something that sweet if I'm making pizza, making naan, or using it with hummus. So a lot of good information to refine the concept. So then obviously I did the qualitative, a lot of learning, changed my concept. I want to throw out into a concept test to sit there and see how many people are actually going to buy this if they see it on shelf. And if you look up top, the two things that we sit there and really want to compare things on: one, purchase interest, will people buy it? And two, uniqueness. Because if it's not unique, yeah, I may want to buy it, but I can just buy whatever else is on the shelf that's just like it. And based on the database of the supplier we use and other items we have, including the original concept that we use for Perfectly Crafted, we sit there and see that Perfectly Crafted Flatbreads has, one, strong consumer interest. It's worth pursuing. And two, it's unique enough that it'll stand out in the marketing. I won't have to spend as much money in advertising to kind of drive a point of difference. So it had that. So I now have a good idea. I now have good feeling that people, if they see it, are going to want to buy it. If they see an advertising for it, they'll be motivated to put it on their shopping list. But the other part of the equation is, if I buy it, will I buy it again? So, next question is, how does the product stack up with other items? So we have pre-use scores, concept tests, post-use, put the product in people's homes for a week, have them use it, recontact them, and ask it, are you interested in purchasing again? Did you like it? Is it good value? We also had a whole set of measures, what we call JAR, just about right scores. Is it too soft, not soft enough, too sweet, not sweet enough, too savory, too thick, you name it. And so we get that back and we can kind of tweak the formulation as we go. And again, bringing you back to the beginning, through all this, what we learned is, one, not a naan, should be a flatbread. Multiple usages for flatbreads. Pizza's a big one, but so are a lot of other things like sandwiches. So we have one that's more traditional flatbread, one that can be folded and used for sandwiches. And then again, another big use for flatbreads and naan are for dipping in hummus. So we have a third item that's dippers. The other, I didn't show it, but the other piece of research we do was called TURF, Total Unduplicated Reach and Frequency. And that was used to sit there and say, this is the optimal line. In a nutshell, what TURF does is, ice cream's a great example. If people like chocolate, a lot of people like chocolate fudge, and a fewer number like vanilla. Well, if I just look at interest, it would sit there and say launch chocolate, launch chocolate fudge. But what we discover is, through TURF, the people that like chocolate fudge like chocolate. So thus, vanilla actually brings more incremental users, higher household penetration to the line than having two chocolate items. So you want to go with chocolate fudge. Same thing here. We put a bunch of alternatives in front of people and measured what the optimal line was, and this was it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have questions, please bring it up on Monday. Thank you.